I have to confess already that I have been listening in on some of your conversations. It wasn't on purpose, it was inadvertent. But your words wafted through the air and they came in one ear and stay. And I think it's fair to say, on the basis of those little glimpses of you, those thin slices of you, there are 11 people in this room at this moment showing psychological symptoms I would like to discuss today.
I think you have to have a lot of confidence in your knowledge, your background, your understanding in order to be a bit of a comedian, which he is.
Mm-hmm. And because he's from Ottawa, there is a slight chance he's related to another Little, a certain Rich Little. There's a little family resemblance. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm putting that out there.
He's got a delightfully calculated sense of eccentricity about him, and I think students absolutely love that. I can remember as a university student always wanting to go to the, the professor's lectures where you weren't quite sure whether they were maybe going to whip around and throw a book at somebody, do something interesting, and he looks like somebody who just might do that.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was wonderfully engaging. The kind of professor that, you as a student, you just love his classes, and he charms you, right? And partially, actually, that's what he's discussing as a,
extrovert.
Extroversion, all that stuff. So obviously, he knows his subject matter really well.
My earliest memories largely revolve around music and being enjoined by my father to sing. And in fact, the very earliest song that I recall, and I haven't thought of it for many, many, many years, was a song. I'm H-A-P-P-Y, I'm H-A-P-P-Y, I know I am, I'm sure I am, I'm H-A-P-P-Y. Now, talk about enjoining a kid to act disingenuously if in fact I was unhappy at the time. I was one of, I think, only 8 people actually born in Victoria, BC. The rest all went there. And my parents were from England and Ireland, and they thought that coming to Canada was the best thing in the world, and Victoria was nirvana. One wonderful thing about my mom was that she had enormous vocabulary, because she would not let a word go without very daintily going out of the room, getting out her dictionary and finding out what it meant. And so we were trained from a very, very early age never to let a word go without finding out what it meant. The Irishness of my dad was captured in what I can only call a whimsy. And my mom, Northern English, from what we now call Cumbria, or then Cumberland, there was a kind of more of a gravitas and a seriousness. And funnily, these are two things that I like to wed and meld into my own teaching, which is the whimsy, the playfulness, the excitement aspect of the Irish dad, but with the very earnest preparation, check your dictionary beforehand. Don't show off. Be earnest. Mean what you say. I think the most informative science lesson I ever had was in grade school, when the teacher posed this problem for us to solve. Why are there more Joneses than Smiths? in the Victoria telephone directory? And I loved that question because I had 1,000 ideas. And so I went off and I thought, the topography of Vancouver Island is actually more similar to Wales than it is to parts of England. And I thought maybe that, so I had a very, a very sophisticated explanation for this, as did other students in the class. When we come back into class and the teacher said, well, those are wonderful theories. But in fact, there are more Smiths than Joneses in the Victoria telephone directory. And I had, at that point, a piloerection. I'm not sure if that term is well known, so perhaps I should explain. That is a hair raising on your back. I got a little thrill up my spine. Because to me, that was teaching science the way it really should be done. Check your facts first. I think self-discovery, it's a double-edged sword. In the very process of discovering yourself, you may find yourself being alienated from the larger culture, which actually helps to provide the horizon of meaning within which the self you discover makes sense. And consequently, there is a kind of balancing act that's necessary. When we look at people's projects, which can range from losing 10 pounds or putting out the cat to transforming Western thought, you find the full panoply of human concerns. So the question really becomes, when do we know we are ourselves? And what we found is that, particularly with adolescents, that where you feel most yourself happens to be in activities that involve others. And I think it is precisely that interplay between what am I and what am I needed for that identity hovers. Now, in retrospect, it should not have surprised us, albeit the research literature often counterposes individualism and collectivism, the sense of me and the sense of being disengaged from the other. But I think that it makes sense to see them as co-constitutive, and that we really do know ourselves through reflections of others saying, boy, we needed you. I found the study of normal personality, and indeed people who were highly creative, audacious individuals, more intriguing than those who were hurting. And I felt the study of personality would enable me to look at those strengths of individuals rather than their weaknesses. I was so excited by its early instantiations, by the early studies of creativity, in part because those early studies looked both simultaneously at how creative people have a boundless enthusiasm for a specialized area, but they're not very easy to get along with. They have very positive emotions, but they have devastatingly negative emotions as well. How did I manage the loss of my sweet voice is a wonderful, wonderful question that my children answered, and that is, you captured your singing voice when you started lecturing. And I said, good God, you're right. That exactly the reaction that I would get from an audience when I really could sing, in contrast to now, was what I saw in the students' eyes if I was able to touch them in some way. Ladies and gentlemen, for my next song, what's the big idea? What am I gonna say? It's easy enough with the students that I know, but to stand and deliver on TVO, will I amuse them, enthuse them, and even enlighten, or end up doing something dreadful and frightened? What's the big idea? What am I gonna say? What am I gonna? What am I gonna say? What am I gonna say?